Hi there, Chris Hasenberg here with a video update from Hasenberg Financial Group. Well, 5 weeks ago, I made my first video back in March, and at the time, yes, my hair was 5 weeks shorter than it is today. I mentioned recessions, unemployment claims, and a lot of things that could be coming up in the future. Well, I've got some news to share with you. The Department of Labor announced another 4.5 million Americans applied for unemployment last week. That takes us to 26 million Americans since the pandemic began. That passes over 20%. That is almost the worst it's ever been in American history, and during the Great Depression it got to 25%. And companies of all sorts are having layoffs. Who'd have thought hospitals were having problems? In fact, hospitals are suffering. They've had a loss of revenue of some as much as 40% due to no elective procedures, which is where a lot of their revenue comes from. They've spent millions of dollars on protective measures, they've frozen discretionary spending, and they've reduced executive pay in a lot of times, and so on. Other news. Studies show that 50% of homeowners are looking into forbearance or payment hardship programs through their banks. 50% say that the stimulus check that they got is not going to be enough to get them through the crisis. Some more studies say that the stock market crash has almost affected half of Americans. 70% say that they're going to have to start selling assets in the next 6 months. 9 out of 10 Americans say that COVID-19 is causing stress on their personal finances. 43% of people working from home currently need daycare, and that's during a time when 61% of daycare providers have shut their doors. Retail sales are down over 9% in the month of March compared to February, and that was the biggest month-over-month decline in American history. And April looks like it's only going to even be worse, since that's when the government had non-essential businesses shut down. The Federal Reserve says it's not just retail. Industrial production fell over 5.5% in March, which was the biggest monthly drop since 1946. The National Association of Home Builders Confidence Index collapsed at a record rate. In March, the index was as high as 72, and then in April it fell to 30, and that's on a 1 to 100 scale. According to a working paper from the Wharton Pension Research Council at the University of Pennsylvania, they say COVID-19 could end up hurting Social Security benefits. The bottom line is that with 26 million Americans out of work, they're not contributing through payroll taxes to the Social Security system, and this could have a permanent impact on Social Security going forward, and so on. The Russians and the Saudis are having an oil war, and this is all happening at the same time that the demand for oil has dropped because people aren't driving as much, and so on. And so this dollar a gas stuff is happening. And so here's the thing, is that the government came to our rescue last week with another $500 billion more in stimulus, and they're calling it an interim emergency bill, which means they're already working on another one. We had $2.5 trillion CARES Act last month. We've got another $500 billion now, and the government's willing to provide trillions in the upcoming months to help us get back on our feet and recover, and so on. I've been talking to you about a U-shaped recovery in the stock market, and not necessarily a V-shaped recovery. However, the medical community is telling us is that they can see a slowdown in the COVID cases turning into opening up all of our businesses and so on, and our social distancing rules changing, and then they can see an increase or a spike in COVID cases, and then it start to fall by the end of the year. And if that's the case, then maybe we might be looking at more of a W-shaped recovery. And in fact, this is a year-to-date, a 1 year chart of the stock market, and the stock market dropped over 35% over a 5-week time frame. And over the next 2.5 to 3 weeks here, it's recovered another 15%. And so here's the thing is that, are we going to see another V after this? We don't know. Nobody seems to know. And so here's the thing is that, know that we're watching your accounts and we're watching the markets and we're making adjustments on a daily basis and so on. We're watching it on a daily basis, making adjustments as needed. We want you to know that the markets have been volatile, both up and down, and we are definitely on top of it. And so many of you have sent us your friends and neighbors. Thank you so much for that. We are happy to help everybody, and we are still working distant and remotely from our offices, but we are fully operational. So if you have any questions or concerns about anything regarding your finances or regarding anything having to do with your retirement plans, give us a call, 715-839-6566, and we're happy to help. Again, this information isn't to scare you, it's to prepare you and to let you know that we will get through this. So be well and take care and watch that immune system, and we'll talk to you soon.